Welcome to another weekend wash. It is November of 24 and we have a new glove box. So we're going to check out the products and use them on our own vehicle. Now our vehicle is really not super dirty at all. It's not driven that much. We don't use it for mobile detailing because we don't do that anymore. And we wash it regularly enough and keep it protected that it stays clean for a very long time. The interior gets a little gross because when we do drive it, we'll go out to lunch and eat in it, but you know, that's about it. So we have a wash and wax from a company called Action Products. So this is their cherry wash and wax. We have a wheel brush, a small barrel brush. Now, in order to fit it in the box, they did have to bend it, but it's meant to be that way. You can actually bend this brush like this. But I'm always careful with these types of brushes because I've had some that, you know, you keep bending them over time and they will break. So I don't always bend them like this. I'll keep it at like an angle like that. And this is from Adams, by the way. So this is one of their wheel brushes. I like these types of wheel brushes. Now, they don't always fit in the tightest of spokes. So you will need a variety of brushes if you're a professional detailer or you detail on the regular and you're doing different vehicles that have different wheels. Now, I have very large open spoke wheels on my vehicle, so this will work perfectly. But these are great for delicate wheels, maybe black gloss wheels. They work great. I'm not a fan of matte wheels though. They are a pain to clean and sometimes I have to be aggressive with them. So this will work on any type of wheel, but especially larger open spoke black gloss wheels. These are great. And check out the handle. It's a big chunky foam handle. It's not going to slip out of your hand. Really nice. Next, we have a wheel cleaner. So this is from Sonax. This is a pretty popular one. I think they've gone through a couple of different iterations, but their wheel cleaner, they're full effect. So it is the iron deconning wheel cleaner. It is kind of a gel formula, kind of a thicker formula. So it really grabs onto the wheels and you can use it on the paint as well. But it is, as it says, a new and improved formula. So we'll check this out. I doubt we're going to see a lot of reaction on our paint, but or on our wheels, but I will try it on the back hatch where I'm sure there might be some iron particles, but I actually deconned this just a few months ago and it's still pretty smooth, but we'll see if it gets any reaction at all. But I do know that it is a good wheel cleaner. It's a well-known cleaner, even though they have a new formula. The old formula was awesome and a lot of detailers loved it. Then we have a ceramic tire and wheel detailer. Tire and wheel? That's interesting. So it says it's a SI carbon technology. So maybe, it does say ceramic, so obviously it's got SiO2 of some sort, but it's carbon. So maybe it's not O2, it's SI carbon. I don't know what that is. It's probably a new thing, but whatever. You know, it has protection built into it and it's a detailer. So I guess it can be used to lightly clean tires and wheels. It's kind of interesting. So we'll see what this does and how to use it. But basically it says, gently penetrates the surface and leaves a stain-free protective layer. Interesting. Suitable for all wheels and tire types. Tire and rubber parts regain their like-new matte appearance, protects against dirt, premature aging, cracking, effects of weather, and environmental influences. So it says it can eliminate brown discoloration with regular use on rubber. Gently removes light superficial dirt from wheels without scratching, ensures extreme smoothness and high gloss to wheels, and significantly simplifies subsequent cleanings. That is interesting. I've actually never heard of a product that is designed to clean but also protect both tires and the wheels. Interesting. We'll check it out. And then a nice microfiber towel. I do have one suggestion to Glovebox guys here. I would suggest putting the towels, if you can, in like a plastic baggie, because sometimes they come with particles in them and it's like you got to pick out the particles, especially if you get a really nice fluffy towel. Sometimes there's particles in there and then I end up not using it on the paint because I got a particle right there and a few others and I'm like, they're like cardboard particles that could be scratchy and I don't want to mess up anything. So I would just love to see if they could put this in just like a separate little plastic baggie, just taped so nothing gets to it. That's the only thing I have with the towels inside the boxes here. I think that would be a good thing to do. And then we have a microfiber block applicator here. Of course, probably using this for the protectant. So using this on the wheels and tires. So we'll check that out. Basically, I'm going to use this like a tire dressing and see if that works. That smells nice. Nice cherry scent to it. So we'll mix up the shampoo and get to washing. Oh, and of course, you always get a little card here with coupon codes in the back. If you want to get your own Glovebox, you can get 20% off of your first box if you use code Miranda20. And you can also win this month's box. And I'll tell you how to do that in just a moment. So here is what our tires and wheels look like right now. Not a ton of dirt or anything. And the tires still look pretty good. We used the Meguiar's hyper dressing on them, I don't know, maybe 2 weekends ago. So not a ton of junk on the wheels. And even the paint and the plastics, really not that dirty at all. This is the dirtiest part of the vehicle, is the rear section. Such a dirty bottom. Now I do have this for cleaning the tires because I am going to degrease them. So this is from Suds Lab. So I have to show you guys this. We keep our wheels and tires and our vehicle in general very, very clean. Now, when you keep things protected, your tires are cleaned and dressed regularly. This is not anything super protective on the tires. It's just the Meguiar's hyper dressing. And for our wheels, we just use a spray-on, rinse-off ceramic protection. Washing and protecting your vehicle regularly makes things so much easier to clean. I mean, I really don't have to clean these that aggressively at all. Using the wheel cleaner that I'm going to use is probably overkill. And even the tires here, do I have to strip all of this off? I mean, it's up to you. I think that's kind of personal choice, but I can basically just gently clean these without anything too aggressive and redress them, and I'm good to go. And I know some people are thinking, oh, you're gonna have a buildup of dressing on them. It's a water-based dressing. It wears off naturally anyway, so there's no heavy buildup here. But again, that just depends on what dressings you're using and how often you dress your tires. If you're just rinsing them and dressing them, yeah, I see you can have a buildup on there, but I am gonna use the Suds Lab Total Degreaser, which does strip off that top layer, and the tires will still look nice afterward, but when they dry, then you'll see that it's just bare rubber, and to dress them just makes them look nicer. Now, if I'm using a solvent-based dressing, that can kind of build up and create like a gross sludge on the tires. Usually you see that from like car washes. They use a cheaper tire dressing just because they buy it in bulk, but a good water-based dressing will wear down naturally, but still leave the tire looking nice. Now, again, just easy to clean. Look at this. Oh, I love that. And even just rinsing the vehicle down like this, the majority of dirt already comes off the paint. You can kind of see a little bit of dirt in the paint. And the majority of it just flies right off of it. And the vehicle is beading water, it's protected. There's no ceramic coating on this. It's just, you know, spray sealants that we use when we wash the vehicle and dry it and apply some sort of protection on it. But it keeps things cleaner longer, and the washing process is super easy. You can see the dirt just fly right off of it and the water beads up. Now you may have noticed that I didn't use any pre-wash on this. How come? I'm always using pre-washes, right? My APC rinse, or I'll foam the whole vehicle down with like Jimbo's Super Soaper, or some other type of strong soap or solution to pre-wash the vehicle. Well, here's the reason. First, this is our own personal vehicle. It's cleaned often, it's well protected, and I'm not going through all of those steps on my own vehicle. It's not an initial detail, so I don't need to do that. Plus, as you saw, just blasting it with water just to rinse it got the majority of the junk off the paint. And everything is still beading and just looking amazing. Now you may think, why did I pre-rinse it first? Isn't that kind of a no-no, kind of a faux pas now with detailers? Let me explain something. I am seeing a lot of misinformation out there, and I know even some very well-known and, experienced detailers like Ivan and a few others have said, and I have heard this, that pre-rinsing a dirty vehicle is bad because it can push dirt on the vehicle from the pressure of the pressure washer and cause scratches and swirls. Is that true? Well, I'm just going to give you my opinion from my findings over the past 15 years. I have never, ever seen that to be true. I think a lot of detailers are saying that just to be on the safe side or to kind of advocate the pre-washing, which I do understand. The pre-washing, I think, is the most important part. But going to the degree of saying that pre-rinsing your paint can scratch it without putting some sort of lubrication or soap on it, I find that kind of silly, because you can't really prove that. And let me explain why I say that. Now, I say that because having that experience of having dirt on the vehicle and having to rinse it off before you wash it, I have never really experienced vehicles getting scratched or swirled from pre-rinsing before washing or pre-washing and all of that. I think that's going a little bit too far. And here's the reason. People may think that it's logical because they think, oh yeah, if the dirt's on the paint and you put high pressure to it, which my pressure washer is only 1,000 PSI, probably a little less coming out of the gun, but that pressure is not enough when it hits the paint at like 2 feet away to cause little particles to actually dig into the paint. Water itself is still a lubricator. Maybe not the best lubrication, but it is a lubricator. And once water hits that, it's not grinding anything anywhere. That it doesn't really make sense. So I think people are overthinking it. Plus, imagine this for a moment. If you have a nice, shiny black vehicle that was just polished, just cleaned, it's looking beautiful, and you drive it through a puddle or mud, or maybe you go down a dirt road, the sheer act of the particles hitting your paint. Imagine the speeds, even if you're going 20, 30 miles an hour, and you have your tire flinging up, especially your front tire, flinging up dirt onto your paint. That act alone has already scratched your paint. Think about it. Imagine taking a handful of maybe loose mud made of tiny little pebbles and then flinging it at your vehicle and trying to mimic the speed of, say, driving through a puddle or mud or something like that. That sheer act of that mud hitting against your paint has already scratched it. Rinsing it off is not going to cause any more damage that it already has caused from the act of the mud flinging onto your vehicle. And I don't know why no one's talking about that part. They're only talking about rinsing it off, and that's causing scratches. How do you know if it was the act of rinsing it off or if it was the act of the mud flinging onto your vehicle already at a high speed? Which one actually scratched your paint? Think about that for a moment. Nobody's talking about that. How come? It's because they're caught up in only listening to people without logically thinking it through. A little bit of light dust on your vehicle, like here, this is not mud, and it wasn't even like heavy road grime at all. Plus, our vehicle is well protected. So rinsing just a little bit of that light dust off of it, or dirt off of it, is not causing any issues at all. Why aren't people talking about the act of mud flinging onto your vehicle first causing the scratches, instead of just talking about the rinsing part of it? Interesting. So now I'm going to take the Sonax wheel cleaner and just do a test on the back section of our vehicle. Since this is a thick formula, move your hand quickly across the surface to really spread it out nicely, because it'll just come out in one blech on the paint and you want to spread it out. So I can smell the iron removal chemical in it, so that's cool. But yeah, not really much going on here at all, which is good. That's what I want to see, or not see, is any reactions. That means things aren't sticking to the paint. Keeping your paint clean and protected, again, it just makes things so much easier. I'm not seeing any reaction at all. That's cool. So here's what I usually do with customers' vehicles. I'll test it on the back end first, because this is going to be the dirtiest part of the vehicle. All of the wind resistance, all the wind kind of, swirls back here, and these areas always, even though the rest of the vehicle might feel smooth, you feel back here and you're like, oh, it's always gritty back here. Even after just a few months, usually, just kind of depending on where people drive. So I'll test back here with a decon chemical like this, an iron remover first. And if I'm not seeing reactions, why am I going to do the rest of the vehicle? That's just my theory, that's just my opinion, and what I've found to work for us. Some guys like to use chemicals like this over the entire vehicle when they're doing their services, because it just kind of gives them peace of mind. But through experience, my own procedures and my standard operating procedures, that's what gives me peace of mind. Knowing that I'm actually going through the steps that I go through and then skipping certain steps that I don't need to do because it's unnecessary. That just comes with experience. New detailers will just use up iron remover because they're like, they see other detailers using it, and other detailers kind of make a rule saying if you're not doing it, then you're not a real detailer, or you're not doing, the proper service to the proper degree. Look, guys, that's for nobody else to say. That is none of anybody else's business. If you own a detailing business, you do it the way that works for you, and ignore what other people say what you should be doing for your business, because it doesn't matter. They're not paying your bills, they're not paying you, they're not your customers. Listen to some advice, but throw out or discard the advice that becomes like a rule. Think of it as principles instead, not rules. If you want more information about that, I have a podcast about detailing rules. Check out the card. So this has been on here long enough. There's no reaction. Okay, on to the wheels. Wait, why didn't I do the wheels first? Here's the reason why. It's because to me it doesn't matter. There's a few things that people do have to think about, however. When doing wheels either last or first, here's what comes into play. Are you a detailing business? Are you mobile? Or are you in a shop? Are you working in the winter or in the summer months? Those things all come into play, and they will affect your decision. There's no rule, however, there are principles. If you're working on a vehicle in the full sun and you're mobile, you have no shade, you can't even help it, you don't have a pop-up canopy, tent, nothing, there's no shade, and you're working on a black vehicle in the middle of summer, and where you are, it's really, really hot. Then I see the logic of doing the wheels first. All the excuses or made-up reasons why people say do the wheels first, that is just simply a personal choice, and it's also situational. So I have a whole video that I did on that, and that's really what it comes down to. Use some thinking ability and some reasoning and figure it out. Don't just follow rules of what other people are saying. I find that very silly, and it does you no good at all in your detailing business. So I'm going to use the degreaser on the tires, wheel wells. Again, not really seeing much reaction here. Let's use the wheel brush. And also, if you're working on a vehicle that has really large calipers, or rotors, this is going to have a hard time getting in there, but it does clean really nicely because of the plushness of this. But if you need to get deeper into the wheel barrel, then these little skinny brushes will get all the way in there. And I've used these on black delicate wheels before, but also those black delicate wheels were already dull and scratched up like crazy.
So I know that the wheel cleaner reacts, because check that out. All the brake dust that's in there is turning purple and reacting, but the wheels are so clean that nothing's reacting on them. Again, good sign. You don't want a ton of reaction, especially on your own vehicle. If you're washing it regularly and you're getting that reaction all the time, I don't know, that could mean something is wrong with your brakes, or it's just a daily driver and you do need to clean it often to make sure that brake dust is off of your wheels and off your paint as well. And if you're wondering, these brushes are from Suds Lab. Awesome. I use this one for the tires because it's a little bit more aggressive. This one's softer, and I'll use it for the wheels. So even after using a degreaser and an iron remover on the wheels and degreaser on the tires, look, still beating water. Still looks really nice. Wheels are still beating. Great. I don't need to add protection at this point. I'm going to use the other detailer to put protection on here. I'm going to blow dry all of this and then use that wheel and tire detailer. We'll see what that looks like. So the tire looks really nice, not dried out, not cracking or anything. Now these are brand new tires, so when you're dealing with brand new tires, obviously things are gonna look better. But putting a nice dressing on it like this, it just retains the nice look of the rubber, doesn't look dried out or anything like that. But let's use this stuff on both tires and wheels. So I'm going to spray it liberally onto the tire. You can spray it onto an applicator also, and I just sprayed it on the wheels and already it beads up on the wheels. I'm going to use a little applicator here and work it into the rubber. Now, is this meant to be a dressing? I don't really know necessarily, because usually all-in-one products like this are not going to be the best on tires, not going to be the best on wheels. You know, it's going to have pros and cons. But as something that is simple to use on a vehicle that isn't, you know, driven daily or abused or not kept clean often and protected often, I don't know if it would be the best choice. Because for really dirty vehicles, you can't just use this stuff. I would use this stuff when everything is clean and just use it like this to kind of protect and maybe dress up the rubbers and you know, plastics a little bit. But that's about it. I'm not going to be using this like a typical dressing or anything like that. For maintenance on customers' cars that, again, are kept pretty clean, yeah, I see how that can work really well. All right, so we'll give that some time to kind of dry into the tire and see what it looks like in a few minutes. So here's the wheel and tire after about 5 minutes or so. Looks really nice. Not a super high gloss finish, just more of a matte finish. They look really, really nice. This is actually how I prefer tires to look on both my own vehicles and customers' vehicles. Just this nice satin, natural finish. Some customers like no dressing. Some customers like super high gloss dressing. So give the customers, you know, what they want, and don't just rely on your own preference. If you have a certain preference that you always do the vehicles a certain way, that's totally fine. But I've actually had some customers look at this tire and they're like, can you get it any glossier? I'm like, oh yeah, no problem. And I'll just slap on some more and make it really glossy and shiny. But that's a minority of customers want that. Not everybody wants that, because shiny dressings usually mean that they're kind of wetter on the surface. Not all of them. Most, you know, there are some dressings or even coatings that produce that glossy look, and it's just solid on the tire. I don't like that stuff because I've tried some and eventually they'll start flaking away, and it's a pain to get that stuff off. So I don't prefer that. But if they want it shiny, just remind them it is going to sling on your paint. So be wary of that. So our vehicle is cleaned, it's protected, and it's ready for an evening out. Now, I didn't put anything on the paint this time. I didn't really see the need for it. I'll only do it maybe every other time I wash the vehicle. But again, that's kind of just
preference, personal choice. If you see the protection is holding on, then cool, you can just dry it and you're good to go. Or you can put a quick detailer on it. That Titan quick detailer from Phoenix does have some protection in it, but it's not meant as to be a sealant or anything like that. But it is kind of a quick detailer, and it will put some protection on there. But what it does basically is just kind of lubricates between the towel and the paint, and just kind of makes things easier to dry. But you know, it dries easily anyway because it's well protected and everything kind of beads off of it. So again, keeping your vehicle cleaned and protected will just extend the beauty of your vehicle, making it look nice and making it easier to clean every single time. But again, you're only watching this because you care about your vehicle and maybe you want to try out some new products. So if you want to win this month's Glovebox, all you have to do is just watch our videos. That's all. In fact, I'll put a video at the end of this one that you can go and watch, and it has to do with the vacuum filter, the filter guard that we put on our vacuum about 8 months ago. Oh man, I forget now. Maybe it was 6 months ago or 5 months ago. I forget. But anyway, it was many, many months of detailing vehicles, vacuuming them, and you'll see the buildup that was on that filter. And did it really protect the vacuum filter itself? Really, really interesting information in that video. So don't forget to check that out at the end of this video. But all you need to do is go to that filter guard video and just comment down below detail Glovebox. So hashtag detail Glovebox. And again, they can only ship within the States. So if you're in a different country, I apologize. They can't really ship it out to you in different countries, only within the States. And I'll pick a winner by basically posting it on our YouTube channel. So you need to subscribe, you need to click on those notifications, make sure you're getting all notifications, and I will put it in a post on our channel. And don't forget to check out our podcast. I referred to it at the beginning of this video, but that's an audio only podcast, and I talk about a lot of subjects that I think a lot of detailers don't think about, and many detailers on YouTube are simply repeating what they've heard and not really thinking it through. The pre-rinsing thing that I talked about in this video is something that nobody is mentioning, nobody's talking about, nobody's really even testing it, because it takes a lot to test this idea that the dirt that is flinging from your tire from the road onto your paint is already causing the scratches. It's not the act of rinsing it off that's causing the scratches. I mean, am I wrong? Think about that. Let me know down below in the comments. Does that make sense? Have you ever heard of that before? Because thinking through it logically, that's what's really scratching your paint. That's what's really happening. Think about that. Let me know down below. Does that make sense to you? Is that logical? Or are you still going to believe that the act of rinsing it off is what's scratching your paint? Anyway, check out the filter guard video. It's a cool one.